All right. Hey, welcome to the second part of the video. So one of the things I mentioned that we were going to use was the Visual Studio code, but we're actually going to use the Visual Studio, the other versions. So for this exercise, now the code we'll use in other um, applications that we do, but this will be Visual Studios. And it'll be this one right here. So visualstudio.microsoft.com. If you're using a PC, you can use this one. I'm going to use this one right here, but I already have it downloaded. So that's what I recommend if you're going to go here. If you're using a Mac, then yeah, definitely download it. If you're using a PC, you don't have to. So let me open it. So you will get, I'm gonna minimize this stuff here. So you'll get an option like this. So I'm gonna choose new. And as you see here, you have all these different applications that you could choose from. You could choose web console. So we got to do a console app, which is what we're going to do. You could do different versions of .NET Core. You could use API. You could do a web app. You could do one with the MVC focus that we mentioned. You could do a Blazor app, which is using a different framework. You could do one with Angular. You could do one with React, etc. Now, I already have my code set as C#, so it may ask you if you want to use C#, VB, etc. I don't remember off the top of my head because I've already used this, but just make sure that you have C# selected. You can select the library. Oh, I guess you could do it right here. It's only C#, F#. You could do library. I think you could do, yeah, just says too. You could do test. You accept your own library using different platforms. Cloud version. Now, if you're using the PC version, you'll have a lot more features than we're showing here. So whether you're using PC or not, you want to choose a console application. This screen may look a little bit different. I'll hit next. I'm going to choose oops. I want to do 5. There we go. 5. Hit next. You give it a project name. We'll just call it first app. Choose where you want your projects to save at. We don't have to use Git version control. We'll just hit create, and then we'll get something going here. Now the Mac and PC is going to look a little bit different. Obviously, your window over to your left here is, we have different windows. We have our properties window over here. We have documents. I can hit that and minimize it. Over to my left is my solution. That's our main class file. These are dependencies, which are our framework. And it just shows that we're using the .NET Core 5.0. Program.cs is the main location of the program. So this is where the program itself starts, and it has to start each time. Using right here is telling you what library that it's using. So other languages use import. This one uses the term using, and then provide the name of the libraries. If we wanted to use a different library, we can type in system.io. So as soon as you start typing in dot, it'll start bringing in stuff. So I could say, oh, I'm going to use the data dot, and then maybe I'm using SQL types, and then I could go down. Now it'll gray out like this because it doesn't see any, when it's like this kind of light, it just says, well, it's there, but we don't see it being used anywhere. But like this one right here is a default one. So taking this out because I'm not using it, see, it'll say remove unnecessary usings because we're not using it. There's nothing there. So namespace is it's basically namespace is a class. It's the main class of the program. What's the name of your class? It is whatever your name of your program is. And then the class of itself is program here. Now we could write other classes down here. We could do a class on here and call something. But for the main class, it's program by default with C#. Anything in this is the main module. So think of this as the main method. In previous stages, before we got to this point, you had to write this code, but now it's already available for you. So static void main means it's the main module, main method. This right here says it's a string, so it's accepting, it's going to be utilizing a string data type which in this case, we're not passing anything in. So the open and close brackets means that that's just a default value. Later on, if this course was all C#, we would teach it how to pass parameters and so forth. And that's why the arguments. So that's just all default stuff. Now, this information down here is console dot write line. So very similar to if you were doing like JavaScript within in your classes. In your classes within JavaScript, where you learn how to come in and inspect, you learn how to come into console and then type in console dot write line. Actually, it was console dot log world. So it was using a log, but instead here we're using write line. So you see that some things are similar, some things are different. This down here is the console. So this is your build. So anytime you build something, NuGet is it's a library that has a bunch of different things that you can download, but we're not going to worry about that right now. There's terminal. Terminal is where you could like type in stuff. So it uses a Unix base. I could type in pwd that show my present working directory. I could do ls and it shows all the files in there. And then if there's any error messages, it's there, has the build output and so forth. This right up here is what we want to run it, but you could also come to the top and just do a build. You need to do a clean build if you need to do debugging. So maybe you want to click here, put a breaker on. You could start debugging, and then what it does is it should stop here and maybe make it yellow or whatever. So it highlights that. What it does is it stops there so that you can come down here and you can inspect some stuff. So you could, and I'm not going to go into this right away, but if we had variables here, we could see what the variables are being picked up. So this is a console, allows us to kind of debug through it and see what's being passed into it. But for this purpose, I'm going to hit stop right here because we don't want to run a debugger here. So first thing I'm going to do is just kind of run this. I'm going to hit the play button, and it does exactly what we wanted to do. We're telling it to write out to the screen saying hello world. That's what we expected it to happen. Okay. So we're going to write a little program here. And so we kind of talk about how that works. So let's say, thinking here, let's pretend that we're creating a calculator. So one of the things I didn't mention is if you want to add a comment here, you could do it this way. This is one way. I'll show you two ways. It's just like JavaScript. I can say comment, or I could say stellar or asterisk, just like that, and then end it here, and maybe blah 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 blah. You get my point. Blah blah blah. So you have a block comment if you wanted to, or you can just have a regular comment. So this right here will be declare variables and initialize at a starting point. Okay, so we'd have to declare. So what's a little bit different with it in JavaScript, you don't have to declare your variable, but here we have to describe what type of data type that we're using. So we're going to use a data type called int for integer, because we're expecting an integer, a number. So we'll say first number equals 0. So we set it to 0, and then we'll do another one, and we'll call it second number, and we'll set it to 0. So all we're doing here is initializing it. Now you notice here it has these little hyperlinks underneath it, because it says there's nothing assigned to it. It doesn't have anything to do with it. So if we wanted to maybe do that hello world, we could come here and do console.writeLine, and we could pass in the variable name. So the variable name is first number, and it should just display 0 for us. And we hit run. That's what we're expecting. See, it provides, I'm pointing at it, you can't see the point. I provided 0, and that tells me that it is, sorry, it's just telling me that it is Well, it just shows you that it's outputting whatever that value is. So, and that's fine. That's what we wanted. So that's the first part there. So what I'm going to do is comment that out in case we want to use it for something. I should, yeah, just take it out for now. So now the next thing I'm going to do here is we're going to display the title as the console, but it won't make a difference here because this would only make a difference if you're using a PC, because a PC it uses command prompt, and then command prompt would have that title. So in this case, it won't make a difference. But how we would do is we do console.writeLine, and then we'd say like calculator, whatever you want to call it, and we would do R for new line, and then I would do console again dot writeLine. So I like the IntelliSense allows you to pick stuff up, and then we could do something like this, maybe. And for new line, one's read and one's new line. So let's see what happens here. I don't think it'll make a difference because, you know, we're my calculator, so we just have it up here. But if you're using command prompt, it would look like this here. So I don't have it. Okay, so you see where it says C Windows, it would say my calculator up here. So that's what the difference is. So you'll see that there. All right, so moving on. So we want to say prompt the user to input a number. We want to start using this first number for something. So what we would do here is we would do a console.writeLine, just like what we've been doing at this point. The difference is we'll just say type a number and press enter. So we have to pick that out. We have to program it because right now, if we do that, so let's run it real quick. And we say enter a number and we hit 76. Oops. Nothing happens. So it's not even set up to do it yet. So we have no error messages, but it's not set up to do it at the moment. All right. So what we have to do here is hit enter. And we're going to take our first number. We're going to say first number equals convert. And what we're going to do here is we're going to convert the number because it's an integer number, but we want to convert it to an int 32. It allows us, because what's happening here is when we input it here, it picks it up as a string value. So if it identifies as a string, we try to do something with it, it's not going to work. So now we need to convert it. So we'll say convert, and we're using a function to int32. So convert is a function, int32 is the method that we're calling. And then we'll say console.readLine. Oops, right here. So read the line, and we'll do an open close bracket so it processes it, and we hit execute right there. Let's see if this works. So the thing about this is I noticed that it's cut my screen. That's not what I wanted. Terminal. There we go. Five output. Hit enter. And so nothing happens. It just read it in there. So what we could do here is just to test it. We could type in maybe. We could say we could do console. I'll show you a couple ways that we could do it. writeLine, and we say first number. So we could do this. We could put you have selected number. We could do a plus first number. And then we could just do this right here. Let's see that real quick. And we'll come down here and we'll type in 64, hit enter, and it picks it up, it reads it. This is you've selected number 64. Another thing that you could do is you could debug it. So you can come down here and we can come up here and we could say, start debugging. So we have to put a number in, and we'll say 87, hit enter. It should stop there. And so here's the key. What I wanted to show you is if I don't have to do anything, I could just show you first number down here under arguments, and it shows the value that it's picking up, which is beautiful. It shows us the value that it's detecting. We know it's number 87. We don't have to hover over anything. We don't have to do anything. We could hover over it and provide the variable as well, but it also has it in here, which is very insightful. It's very awesome. So that's one of the reasons I really like .NET development when I got into it, because it makes things a lot easier. All right, so I don't need to have that right now. All right, so let me actually write that out because I want that. So we're going to prompt the second number. So I'm going to copy this here. Oops. So please type a number and press enter. I'll say please press another number, so that way it doesn't look like it's a repeat of it. And then we'll check, make a second number instead. All right. Then we need options. So for options, so we'll do console.writeLine. Right here. Might do some copy and paste in here. We'll say identify an option in the list. Okay. Execute it there. And then we'll say console.writeLine. And we'll do this, and then we'll do a /T8. And we'll do -ADD. So this allows us to have everything horizontal, and that's what we're going for here. And then we'll need subtract, multiply, and divide. So make things easier. Copy this, and we'll paste it. Boom. Boom. We're going to change our things around, our features around. We're going to use TS. And then we're going to use T. So TA is for add, TS is for subtract, which we have to change. Next one will be M for multiply, and the other one will be D for divide. So then we have to change them here. So multiply, and we'll say subtract. And last, we already have add, perfect. Now we have to do an option here. So we'll do console.writeLine. So what we're doing here is creating a new write line. We're saying choose an option. Okay. And then we need a conditional statement. But before we do that, let's stop it and let's run it and see what happens. All right, let's move this up a little bit. First number is 65. Next number is 987. Bunch of numbers. All right, perfect. So now it says identify an option A, S, M, or D. And then your option, well, we'll just say add. But we don't have anything here yet, so it's not going to let us do it. Perfect. All right, so new, moving back down. So now we need a conditional statement. And then we need to write it. So we'll do a conditional statement. Allow them to do the math. We'll say switch. And we'll do console.readLine. So we'll read the line, which that's why we couldn't do anything yet. Open, close like that. And then we'll do these little brackets here. So these brackets right here is start and end, and anything in the middle is an execute. So we'll say case. If someone chooses A for add, we'll do a colon here. If you take in the SQL class teaches you case statements, so very similar. So we'll do console.writeLine, and then we'll do $sign, and we'll say your result, colon, and then we'll do our numbers, which was first number, and then we'll do plus second number, like that. And let me think, equals, and then we'll add it on, we'll say plus, and here we'll do in, this time in brackets like that. We'll say first number, and then we'll do it like this, plus second number, lose some space there, and just like that. And then we'll break it. Mess up somewhere. Oh, I have 2 extra ones here, but let's see here. Yeah, that's right. So let's make this wider. Perfect. All right, so the next one is we have to do S, we have to do M and D. So let's copy this instead of typing it. Unless you like to type, then that's awesome. I try to save myself time, so we'll do S, M, D. So this, everything will be the same. M, we'll do D. We have a break there. All right, perfect. Now our conditional statement set up. So if they choose A, it's doing the same thing. They're just taking the 2 numbers. Actually, made a mistake here. If it's a subtract, we're gonna have to do this. And if it's a multiply, we're gonna have to do an asterisk, I think. Yeah. And then this one to divide. Now this will be the same because we're just concatenating, adding the 2 together. So that's our conditional statement. It says choose A, write this, boom, adds it, boom. All right, lastly, we need to respond to the user. So we can say console.write. We'll say press. Key. Close the console. Oops. Close it out there. And then we do console. Last thing we have to do is do read. Key. That's it. Uh-oh. Didn't like something. Didn't like how to write for some reason. Expected. Oh, see, what I forgot to do is forgot to put this here. So I didn't know what it was doing. All right, so let's save this. Let's run it and see what happens. All right, so our first number, oops, is 76. And our second number is 93. And we're gonna, well, everything's kind of broken up here. There we go. Which is A for add. This is your result. 76 plus 93 is 169. And press any key, and it just restarts. And that will be different if you're using a PC, because then it closes it completely. Here we're using the terminal app as integrated. So let's try one of the other ones to debug it. So press a number. 5, and now I'm going to choose 89076, and then your option is to multiply, and there you go. So your problem will be very similar to utilizing this existing code and doing other features with it. But it won't be anything out of the norm from what we've already learned. So thanks for watching. If you have questions, reach out to me. Thank you for interest in C#. Good day.